Hello, my name is the Amateur Historian, and today we'll be talking about the German Empire and its unification. So, first we have to look at the map of pre-unified Germany. You see, Germany was not unified, it was a group of many different kingdoms, dukedoms, free cities, and the problem was there was no specific German nationalist idea. It was made in the middle of the 19th century, and we have to look at how it unified. So, two wars. The Brothers' War between Austria and Prussia, in which the Austrians lost control over the majority of the German area, you can say, and they stopped being very influential in the area. And then we have the Franco-Prussian War, in which the Prussian army was so professional and defeated the French so badly that even Napoleon III, the French emperor, was captured at the Battle of Sedan. And to put salt on the enormous French wound, the German army marched to Paris and surrounded it. Because of that, and the capturing of Emperor Napoleon III, and actually the German government, well, the Prussian government, declared itself the German Empire in Paris, in the Versailles Palace. The French were defeated so much that the French Empire finally ceased to exist. And Emperor Napoleon dissolved the parliament and formed the newly formed Third French Republic. But now it's time for us to talk about the newly formed German Empire and what pluses in its terrain it had. So you see, Germany was in the middle of Europe, and it being in the middle of Europe and being at the same moment extremely large and powerful is two very good things. First, the Germans controlled a very big amount of good rivers, which permitted them to, well, first trade on these rivers, like on the Danube and on the Rhine. Trade went through and trade went out. Second thing, it was a very easily defendable position. Second thing, second thing, the German terrain was rather straightforward in the way that it was not really mountainous, but it was mountainous in the more important areas, because not all of the time the relationships between the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the German Empire were good. So the mountains on the Czech border were extremely important, because the relationships between the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the German Empire were not so good. They were mostly good, but not all the time, and this was a very easily defendable position against the Austro-Hungarians. But now we have to look at the German colonies. You see, the Germans did not specifically colonize as much as, per se, the British or the French, but they did hold a good control of some territories in Africa, two treaty ports in China, and some islands in the Marianas area and the northern part of Papua New Guinea. Now, this was not as much, but this gave them some kind of level of prestige that each colonial empire had, because even the Belgians had a colony, and the Belgians were not specifically known for being very good or professional colonizers, but that's a different story. So now we have to look at the German industry, which is basically its economy. So the German territory was rather agricultural friendly, so there was a lot of land which could be used for different things. As you see, a lot of farmlands, many different resources, and many trade partners. Because of that, the German economy was the third biggest economy in the world and the first biggest economy in continental Europe. The main German economic trade rivals were the United Kingdom, or the Great British Empire, and the United States, which were extremely Germanified, you could say, because a big amount of German migrants came to the United States, and in many areas more than 50% of the population had or were German or had German relatives. But now it's time to take a quick detour and talk about the size of the German military circa 1914. The size of the German military at 1914 was 4.5 million people, a rather big amount of soldiers, and I can say their military was one of the biggest in Europe. Not comparing it definitely to the Russian Empire and its army, as the population was different and the amount of people which the Russian Empire could field was much more bigger. And now it's time to talk about the main event, the First World War, and how did Germany first win a lot and then lose extremely a lot. So, as you see, the Germans expanded extremely heavily, conquering majority of the western territories of the Russian Empire, pushing into France and Belgium. But there's one big problem. Well, three big problems. The first is their military high command. I wouldn't say that they were unprofessional, I would say that they were overly optimistic. Second thing, their allies, the Austro-Hungarians, were absolutely terrible. The Ottoman Empire was the weak man of Europe, you can say, and they were so bad, I don't want to talk about it. The Bulgarians, for their small size, had a rather big army and fought rather ferociously. And the third main problem, the Americans. The Americans ruined all German chances of winning. The Americans basically came when the Germans were lying, the Germans were trying to stand up, and the Americans hit them in the stomach. But the main reason why the Americans joined was because of the stupid German unrestricted naval warfare doctrine, which was rather stupid, but smart. You see, the German Navy, the heads of the German Navy thought it would be a good idea to let Britain starve. That means that civilian ships, military ships, nobody cares. All ships going to Britain with grain, with resources, with anything will be sunk. Even Americans. American ships got sunk, Americans got unhappy. The Zimmerman telegram, a very stupid thing which I want to talk about later, was sent, and that's it. The Americans got extremely angry because, well, the Zimmerman telegram was a telegram sent by Arthur Zimmerman, as I remember, to the Mexican government that they would join the war on the Central Power sides and go to war with the United States, which was extremely stupid as the Mexicans suffered through a very long time of civil crisis. Many civil wars, toppling of governments, and total military administration in a way was a bad combination, and the Germans thought it was a good idea that they would join the war. They didn't. So this concludes my small overview of the unification of Germany, the German economy, circa 1913, the German military, and the situation of 1918 and the German crisis in the way that they lost the war. If you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends, and if you have any ideas for next videos, please leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day, evening, or night. I don't really care. Goodbye.